Praise the Lord. My name is Kajanan. Hi, everyone. Today I am going to share my testimony, how I came to know Jesus Christ and the love of God. I am 34 years old. I was born in 1988 in Jaffna, in a place called Tellipalai. Our village is called Mavattapuram. I was born there in Tellipalai. What happened was probably a year before I was born, our house was demolished by the Sri Lankan army due to the war situations. So after that, after I was born in 1989, when I was 1 year old, my father was taken away forcefully by the LTTE, and till now we don't know actually what happened to him. We don't know whether he is alive or not. So that happened in 1989, and afterwards we had to live with our relatives in Jaffna. So till 1995 we used to live in different places, and then we moved to Colombo. But the first encounter with Christianity, or the story of God, His plans, was in Jaffna, even though I didn't know it at that time. When I was small, one of my cousin's friends, he used to bring these comic books, and those days we had something like Rani comics, that is the name, and we had these phantom stories, and in that there was an island called Eden, and I used to wonder, because they described it as a place where all the animals live together peacefully, and it's such a nice place, a beautiful place. So I used to think it should be like that, and so it'll be so we'll be so happy to live in such a place. And I used to like that place, but I wanted it to be a reality. Then what happened in 1995, when I was 7 years old, our aunt suggested that we move to Colombo so that I could continue my studies without interruptions because of the war situation that was happening in Jaffna. So we left Jaffna. It was a very difficult path to take, because we had to take the sea route on a small boat, and then because it was a difficult thing, because the Navy, they actually sometimes doubted that it was LTTE, and they attacked the civilians. So it was a great risk, but we took it, and we came then to another different place, and from there we took a tractor. We traveled on the back of a tractor, and we came to Vaunia, a place called Vaunia, and from there, this is me and my mother traveling. We came to Vaunia, and then we were about to come to Colombo, but the problem was the oil well in the oil tank in Kalani, in Colombo, near Colombo, it was attacked by the LTTE. So we had to wait for another couple of days in Vaunia, and then we took the train, and we were able to come to Colombo. So the first place we stayed in Colombo was called, the street was called Joseph Lane, and actually before that we had to stay in a lodge because they had to prepare the place. Our uncle, we were getting ready to stay with him, but he had to prepare the place, so we stayed at a lodge, a small lodging called Messengers Inn. The name is quite striking, no? The street name was named Messenger Street, and the place was called Messengers Inn. So we were there for about probably a week or so, and after that the place was prepared and we moved to Joseph Lane in a place called Bambalapitia or Colombo 4. That is where our uncle lived, and we lived with his family, and for about probably 4 years, I guess, yeah, 3 to 4 years. So when I was there, that was the first direct encounter, I believe, with Jesus, or I got to know about him. That's a better way to put it, you know. So when I was probably 8 or 9, I can't remember well. You know, those days I used to read a lot of books, because my mother also, she reads a lot of books. So I got that habit as well, and I read a lot of Tamil books, and I was so into God. Because I didn't have my father with me, I wanted to have a God who speaks to me, who talks to me, and you know, who can be my father, or who can have a relationship with me. So I used to read a lot of Hindu scriptures, like Mahabharatam, Ramayanam. I used to read them again and again, and I used to, imagine how it will be a great thing if I could have, lived at that time with those characters. And I read a lot of storybooks as well. So one day me and my mother were at Colombo 6, visiting a bookshop to buy some storybook, and there I saw a book about Jesus. It was a picture book, and I liked it and I wanted to buy it, but my mother, she actually didn't want to, buy it for me for some reason, and I was so stubborn and I wanted to buy it. And the person who was assisting us in that shop, he said he said to my mother, "Don't worry about it. It's not a bad thing. You can buy it." And then she bought it for me, and I read it, and I can remember those pictures still. The two images that come to my mind now. One is that Jesus is multiplying the bread and the fish, and feeding the 5,000, and then the other one is him going to the cross. I can still remember that, and that was the first encounter as far as I can remember. So after that, nothing significant happened. The Lord has, God has certainly gifted me with the ability to study and score well. So I was attending a small school at Colombo 4, which was situated near to our place, and I was always becoming the first position at the class. So in the class, so that was happening that way. Then I passed my scholarship examination in my grade 5 year, and then I moved to Colombo Royal College. From 1999 till 2007 I was there, actually 2008. But when I joined Royal College, I started to lose focus on my studies, and I was focusing on extracurricular activities as well, and I couldn't manage both. I actually joined the cadet band there. I was actually interested in music, and I didn't know it was a cadet band, but later I enjoyed both as well. But the problem is I couldn't handle both the extracurricular activity and my studies. What happened there was, I actually started to think that I should join the Sri Lankan army, because my father was taken by LTTE. I wanted to have my revenge on them. So I was thinking that way. I was a young boy, and I wanted to join the SL army and take my revenge by fighting against them. So I was so stubborn. But my mother actually wanted me to leave that cadet band, because she didn't want to lose me as well. She lost my father, so everything we lost, no. So she didn't want to lose me as well. But she used to come and talk to our teachers, the principal, and she would cry. But I didn't step down from my position. I wanted to continue what I was doing. I was so stubborn, and I even threatened that I will drink poison if they persisted with this idea. So I was like that. And then one day I was standing at the grade 10 building lobby at Royal College, and I was thinking about probably in 2000, probably in 2004 or 5, I can't remember. And I was there, and I was alone, and I was thinking about joining Sri Lankan army. And I was also afraid, because it's not an easy thing to fight. There will be blood, and there will be shooting. Everyone will be shooting, and it will be a difficult thing. So I was afraid at the same time as well. So I was thinking about it, because I made a strong decision, a commitment, that I will join the SL army. So I was thinking about it, and suddenly I heard a voice in my mind saying, "Do you trust me?" The voice was, I knew that voice. I didn't know at that time that it was Jesus, but I knew it is God talking to me, because living with relatives is not an easy thing. Because I didn't have my father, we had to stay with our relatives, and they supported us, but there were psychological challenges as well, because certain how they behaved, or how they would respond at certain times. It was very hard to comprehend, and whenever that happened, this God, this unnamed God at that time, whom I knew as God who created the world, would come and comfort me. I experienced it. It's not the idols that I worshipped, because I am from a Hindu background. I worshipped idols, and I used to go to temples with my mother, and I used to stay in front of the idols for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and talk to them. But no one talked to me again, talked to me back. But this God was always there with me, comforting me, and protecting me. So when he spoke like that day, I immediately knew who it was, and I suddenly understood what I have to do, and I stepped out of that decision I made, to join the SL army, and I didn't join. So that was an instant decision making. He could have talked to me like, you are not obeying your parent, or you are not obeying your mother, you are hurting her. He could have easily blamed me. He could have done that because I was doing that, but he took a different approach, and he asked me, "Do you trust me?" And I knew that this God will be able to deliver justice. and I immediately resigned my position, and I understood what I have to do. So I continued with the cadet band, but uh, I decided not to join the Sri Lankan army. Then what happened? Um, I had to face my A levels, advanced level examinations, and all my relatives, they were waiting for me to score an island rank. But I knew that I didn't study well, so I actually failed the exams. And Because as I wrote the exam itself, I knew I would fail, and I decided to join Airtel. Yeah, those days Airtel came to Sri Lanka, the telecommunication company, and sorry. So I joined them as a customer care agent, and I was there. I worked there for about 2 years, and I became a trainer. But then a cousin brother, he suggested that I continue with my studies, and that was promising because I searched about it, and I decided to do HND, High National Diploma in Computer Networking, and afterwards, so I will be able to do my undergraduate studies in UK, where I had relatives then. I quit my job, and that job was promising, but they were type of using me as well. So I decided to quit that job and start HND, and I started, and my uncle was helping me, and everything was going well. I was earning distinctions in all the subjects I did, but suddenly my uncle was not able to send money anymore, and I had to discontinue the studies. And another thing, because my mother didn't have any other children, she was also worried, about me going to a foreign country and living there, because she was afraid that she will be alone. And So I thought about everything, and I decided to quit that idea of higher studies as well. And then what happened, I started working for some people, different people, but nothing worked. There was something wrong, um, probably on my side, and I was never able to continue any job for a long period. So it was happening like that, and then I also came across a physical struggle, because one day at a wedding, I helped someone lift up a huge vessel. I don't know, it is in Tamil we call it anda, where you cook rice. It's a big thing, and I was a small boy then, and I not so small, but and I tried helping him, the other person, to lift the vessel. And what happened, I heard a small sound, and I realized something was wrong in the backbone of mine. And later I found out that the disc was it came out of the alignment, and because of that I started feeling numbness and pain. So that also happened. So everything was going in the wrong direction. No matter how hard I tried everything possible to come out of the downward spiral towards which my life was going. So in I also attended spiritual courses in India, searching for this God. It gave temporary relief and satisfaction, but never permanent one. It didn't give peace. Nothing was working, and it was in 2017 the turning point actually came. I was selling printers those days, importing them from China, and selling it using an online platform. So I was staying at an annex that was rented. it was a building that had 3 floors, and the landlady was renting them out. On each floor, there were 6 annexes. So me and my mother, we stayed in a room that had an attached bathroom, and so I was staying there. And one day, this customer called me and said, "I'm downstairs," and he wanted to buy a printer. So I took the printer and the receipt and all that, and I went down and met him outside, a little bit away from our place. And I didn't want, because it was not a good idea to bring customers to our place, because there was too many people staying there, so they will be disturbed. So I met him a little bit away from our place, and I sold the material. And as I was coming back towards our place, I noticed 2 young ladies standing in front of the entrance of the house owner, the landlady. So the building had 2 entrances. One was the landlady's, the other one was ours, which is actually the entrance to the staircase. So we can go to first floor, then second floor or third floor. So I noticed these 2 young ladies, and because I didn't know them, I didn't talk to them. I was walking towards my entrance when the three-wheeler, the taxi guy, he actually called me, and he said, "It seems that these 2 young ladies need some assistance. Can you help them?" Like that he asked, and I said okay, and I moved towards them, and they said they are in a hurry and they need a place to stay. They need to rent some, at least a room. So they were trying to contact the landlady, but they were unable to do so. So I also tried to contact the landlady, and she was not picking up. But then later, what I did, I gave them the number and asked them to call me in about 2 hours. And within the 2 hours, I was able to connect both of them. And I didn't know what happened after that. So it happened like that. And then after about a week's time, she called the person, the young lady who came to stay at that place. She called me and said that she is a married lady, and she has a child, a boy who is 7 years old, and that she is studying MBA and working at the same time. And because of the busy schedule, she might have to leave the young boy at her room. And she wanted to get a cable connection, a TV connection, so that he will be able to keep himself occupied while at home. So because I purchased the cable connection recently, the house owner, she had directed her to me, and I actually helped her get the cable connection. And the interesting thing was, she actually trusted me a lot. She gave her room key to me, to install the connection when the technicians came, because she won't be available at home. So she gave me the house key, the room key actually. And I was a little shocked at what she did, of her trust and probably her innocence. And so I helped her with that. So another thing that actually moved me is that when I looked at them both, the lady and her kid, I remembered remembered the time when we came to Colombo. We moved to Colombo, me and my mother. When we moved, I was 7 years old, and kid also was 7 years old. So whenever I looked at them, I remembered those days, and I decided, because I knew the struggles my mother had to go through, and I decided to help them in whichever possible way. So I was helping them, and we became good friends. But we didn't meet regularly, but it was a different kind of a relationship. And one day, what happened, as I was going downwards to help my mother open the ground floor door, and she was going to visit my cousin sister, and I saw these two, playing outside, this young lady and her kid. And I started talking to her that day, and we spent about probably 30-40 minutes downstairs, and she suddenly started telling me about her life story. And she told me that she lost her mother when she was a kid. Mother committed suicide, and her father also left her because of an affair. And she studied with the help of her relatives, and then she fell in love with a boy who also she later found out that who also was having an affair. And because she tried a lot to correct it, but she couldn't do it, and because of that she was going through a divorce procedure. So she told me that, and she had tears in her eyes, and I was moved, and I didn't expect this was coming. And because I was attending these spiritual courses, and I was listening to new age gurus those days, like Sadhguru and all that. So I used to comfort her with those teachings. And so I was comforting her like that. And then after that incident, it was getting dark, so we started to climb the stairs to go to our places. And she had to go to the third floor, and I had to go to the second floor, and we were climbing the stairs. And as I was about to enter the second floor door, through the second floor door, she suddenly turned and asked me whether I want to have her WhatsApp number, and said that she is using a different number for WhatsApp. And I didn't expect it, actually, because I thought maybe she is interested in me, because she was asking that question. And suddenly my ego kind of like confronted me. And I because my mother was married to my father as a when his first wife died. So she married him as a what do they call it, second bed. So I actually didn't want that to happen to me as well. So that was probably my ego showing up. So but I didn't want to show it to her and hurt her probably. So I said, okay, send it to my this number, and I will add it to the contacts. And she did that, and that night we started chatting, and she told me about her hardships. And now please don't misunderstand me, I'm not blaming her for anything. She was an innocent lady, and that was what attracted me to help her a lot, because she was innocent and friendly. And I saw Christ in her. I'm not sure, but yeah, probably that was what was attracting me. And then what happened, this chat was going on. Nothing wrong about the chat. It was a pure a kind of a chat, and it was going on. And she used to come to whenever we celebrated our Hindu festivals like Deepavali. We used to light these light small lamps and all that, and she would come and talk to me and my mother. And sometimes she would ask, okay, I'm planning to go to New Zealand, and whether I would like to, she will ask my mother whether I would like to come to New Zealand, and my mother would say no, he doesn't like to go abroad, like that. So every time this happened, I took it as she was hinting at me, and I was always keeping a distance from her. I was helping her, but was keeping a distance from her, because I didn't want to marry her, because she was divorced. She was going through the divorce procedure. Then what happened, in December she traveled to India to meet her father, because her child's birthday was coming, and she was not there in our place because she left the country, and I started missing her. Now I didn't like this feeling that was coming to me. I wanted to push it away, but I couldn't avoid it. I started missing her, and what I did was like I texted her, but there was no reply. And what I did, I purchased a chessboard, and wrapped it up, and was waiting for them to come back so that I could give the boy this gift for his birthday. And one day they were there in their room, and I told my mother, mother, their lights are back, so let me go and give the boy this gift and come back. And it was about 7 in the evening, and I took the gift and went and visited them. And I wanted to give the gift and come back immediately, but she insisted that I come in. Now the problem is, they only had a room just like us. It's probably 10 foot by 10 foot, and they had a small kitchen and a washroom, so that's it. So it's awkward for us to go inside. So I said no, I'll come another day, but she insisted, and she gave me coffee, and I taught this young lad, the young kid, some chess. And then I came back. So I spent probably around 30 minutes there. And as I was coming down, this thought hit me, because when we were chatting earlier, she told me that her life story is a movie, a Tamil movie that came in 2017, that was named Taramani. So and she actually suggested that I watch it, but my friends actually gave me an idea about that movie, saying that it's a very sentimental type of movie, and I didn't like sentimental types of movies, because I always watched comedy movies, and I didn't want to see movies that would make me sad. So even though I said I will watch it, but I never watched it. So this day, as I was returning back to my place after giving the gift, I thought, okay, let me watch it and see what's in it. So I went back to my place, opened my laptop, and searched for this movie on YouTube, and it was there. So I started watching it, and suddenly I realized something. The movie, the story of the movie was, a girl is coming to a place after getting divorced with her kid, and she meets a boy there, and they fall in love. And so this is the story. So I thought maybe God was, those days I was worshipping the universe and God, and trying all the spiritual stuff in the new age area. So I thought maybe God was actually telling me to marry her, but because of my ego I was pushing it away, and I wanted to correct it. So I didn't tell her that I loved her, but I started to send her messages saying, don't worry about your life. I will be always there with you. So all those comforting messages. And but what happened was, she didn't reply, and she eventually, during the following days, blocked me on WhatsApp message, and call. She blocked the calls as well, direct calls. So I couldn't understand it, what was happening, and I wanted to actually talk to her about it, at least for 5 minutes, so that she could explain what was happening. And she never agreed. And so what I did, I actually, she told me when she was chatting with me that she belonged to the Assemblies of God denomination. And I didn't even know about denominations then, but she said AOG. So one day, probably this happened in 2018 March. Our another cousin sister, she died of cancer, and we had to attend her funeral and all. So one day I met our distant cousins. They are husband and wives, and they are Christians. So I met them there after a long time, and they only one day dropped me at my place, because they lived near our place a little bit. And so as they were taking me towards my place in their car, they started talking about this AOG. And suddenly I thought, okay, I was searching about AOG, and here they are talking to each other about AOG. So I asked them about it, and they said, yeah, it's our church, do you want to come? So I said, okay, I'll come. And they asked me to come the next Sunday, and they gave me the landmark. And I attended their church that was in Colombo 6, near my place. And when I went there the next Sunday, the senior pastor there, he actually was welcoming everyone for the service, and he gave me his number and asked to call him if I needed anything. So I agreed, and then I really liked the message that day that was given there. So I started to attend the Sunday services every Sunday. Now, on the one hand, I really liked the messages. On the other hand, I wanted to spot her there, at least, because so that I could talk to her, or somehow the situation might develop. So I was attending, and what happened was like this on May 5th of 2018, I suddenly got an urge. This was a Saturday, and in the evening I thought, okay, why don't I talk to this pastor, this senior pastor, about the situation I was going through. So I texted him on WhatsApp, and he said, okay, come tomorrow and we will be able to talk after the service. And I said, okay. And the next day, May 6th, it was a Sunday, and I attended the service at around 7:30, and I was there sitting ready to hear the message. And suddenly, before starting the message, this pastor said he celebrated his 25th birthday the day before. And I was like, okay, he looked like he's in his 50s, and he's saying he celebrated his 25th birthday. So I couldn't understand what he was saying. And then he clarified, saying, no, after coming to Christ, it's been 25 years. And he said how he came to know Christ. He was a businessman, and he was about to commit suicide because of his failure in the business. And he was saved by his friend, and that friend took him to his house actually. And that friend's daughter, who was 8 years old then, she took his hands and prayed for him, and he came to know Christ. And the pastor told the congregation that let me introduce this girl. And he called her name, and I was immediately a little bit shocked, because that was the same name of that girl. And I turned and looked, and it was that girl. It was no other. It was that girl. And I was shocked. And she went to the pulpit, and they prayed for her, and she left. She didn't stay for the service, I believe. And then suddenly I was having different thoughts. This pastor knew her for 25 years, and how am I going to talk to him regarding what I was going through? And I was struggling a bit, and somehow I decided, okay, I have come this far, let me tell him about it and see what happens. And after the service, he took me to his room, and I was able to tell him, and he listened very patiently, and he told me, Kajanan, did you know that she would come here today? And I said, I don't know, I didn't know, and things are happening like this, and I can't understand what's happening. And he said, okay, God has a plan for you, but let me talk to her, but we can't talk to her immediately, because she is living alone, so let's see what happens. And but he said that God has a plan for me, and that gave me hope. And later on, what happened was, like, after about 2 months, I was being led by a junior pastor who was assigned to help me understand the Bible. And there were others helping me as well, but this junior pastor was spending a lot of time with me, and so he was guiding me to read the Bible and understand Christianity, understand God's plan. So one day, as we were talking, he asked me, Kajanan, why don't you take a leap of faith? And I understood what a leap of faith is, because I was addicted to PC gaming those days, and I used to spend hours and hours playing PC games, probably 8 hours at least a day. So one game I used to play was called Assassin's Creed, and I really liked that game. And in that, the hero, the main character, will climb a building, and whenever he climbs a building, he won't climb down. He can climb down, but to make it easier, he will be able to jump from the top of the building, no matter the height, into a haystack. And that is called a leap of faith. And I knew what he was telling. I have to take the leap in faith. And he is asking me to do that from Hinduism to Christianity and see the goodness of the Lord. So he asked me that question, and then he said, why don't you come to the real parents, to your real parents, from those who have adopted you? And I asked him back, saying, okay, even if I am living with the adopted parents who have adopted me, how can I betray them? And he didn't answer, but he left it at that, and he prayed a prayer there, asking God to reveal himself to me. And then I left the church, meaning I left the church building, and I started walking towards the main road. So as I was walking towards that road, I saw a taxi coming towards me, and on the back seat, the leap of faith that was in that game was printed. And I immediately thought, oh, coincidence. This is something I used to see now and then, so that's a coincidence. So I pushed that thought apart, and I went on my way home. I went to a net cafe, where I could access internet, because I was worshipping a Hindu deity called Shirdi Sai Baba. um, an old one with a head covering, something like that. Not a, it's something like that. Okay, so I was worshipping him, and so I was watching a teledrama that was telling us his life on earth, and. I was not able to watch the last two episodes because of some TV issues, the channel issues. So I wanted to watch those episodes um, at the net cafe. So after church, on my way, I went to this net cafe, and I opened this website, and I started watching the missed episode. And in that episode, this character, this deity, or this guru, was saying to his disciple these lines: you can't stay with me after this, because your real parents have come. You have to leave me and go with them. And he told that very strongly. And I understood the message that I have to leave Sai Baba and I have to come to Jesus. I couldn't take it because I loved Sai Baba so much, and I was troubled a lot. But I understood the message. It was for me. God was talking to me in a language I understood. So I left the place and I came to my house, this building, and I came to my room, and it was a Sunday. So again I opened my laptop and opened this game called Assassin's Creed, and that particular game of Assassin's Creed is called Origins. And I resumed from the place I left, and I started playing it. And what happened was, in that session, the hero of that game, the one doing all the stuff, how do you call him? Protagonist, or the hero. And he takes his small son, to a place, a hillside, and at the bottom there was a river, and he was trying to teach his son to take the leap of faith. And the son was really afraid, and he was saying, I can't do it now, please don't, give me some time, like that. And the father was telling, no, don't be afraid, I am here to help you, I will be there for you, so don't worry about anything, like that. But the son was afraid to take the leap of faith. And while this was going on, the enemies of the father, right, they approached them. And in the ensuing scene, what happens was, the father was fighting the enemies, and the enemies take the hand of the father and kill the son. So that was what happened in the game that day. And I immediately understood the message, because I have been listening to all those messages, and this showed me how I have to come to the Lord before it's too late, and that I have to take the leap of faith without any further delay. So I understood the message, but I didn't come to the Lord immediately. It took me another 2 months, and in December 2018, I don't know whether it's the first week or the second week, but during the church service, when the senior pastor was giving the message, I understood the essence of Christianity and about Christ and his love. And I came to Christ. I gave myself to Christ that day. And I was so happy, and that happened. So this is how I came to know Christ, and it was the greatest miracle that happened in my life, coming to know Christ, and knowing later that he has been with me from my childhood, from the time I was in my mother's womb, and it has been an adventure from that day onward. He has been guiding me, speaking to me, and doing a lot of miracles, and blessing others through me. So it was an adventure. It is an adventure, and I would like to share with you uh, all of them in my future clips. So please continue. Please subscribe to my channel, and please share these clips with your friends and family if you find it useful, and if the Spirit of God leads you to do so. So thank you so much for patiently watching my testimony. I bless you in the name of Jesus Christ abundantly. May the Lord bless you in every area of your life abundantly. So I thank you again for the time that you have given, and I hope that these clips and this channel will be a blessing to you, and that the Lord will speak to you through these messages. And I please forgive myself if I have said something wrong. So thank you again. So see you again soon. Thank you.